When you first open a Questrade account, there are a few settings and features worth checking before you start investing. In this video, I'll walk through the key setup areas: security, deposits and transfers, tax documents, DRIP, fractional shares, margin power, journal shares, custom indexing, and where to find help inside the Learning Center. This is not financial advice, but it should help you get your Questrade account set up with more confidence. So one of the first things that I would consider doing is upping my security, and I'm going to showcase my screen here. This is where you can actually go to your profile and you can check out your security settings in there. I would highly suggest making a very strong password as well as setting up two-factor authentication. Those are some of the larger measures that you can put in place to keep your account secure. When you're in here, you have this menu bar at the top. We'll start with moving money. So in here, you can put your deposits into your account with a few different options. I don't have a Visa debit card. Obviously, that's instant, so that's fairly convenient. But you can also do Interac e-transfers. I personally like to do the bill payment method just because when I'm in my own individual account in my bank, I can simply set up those automated payments to go into the investment accounts, and I can do it there. Or, another thing is I can also just do a one-time bill payment. But I find that for the most part, when I'm dealing with my personal finance, I'm usually inside my bank. I'm logged into my bank. And so I like to be able to just simply do that way. But again, you can do your own option that works best for you. There's lots of different ways you could do it. There is a little bit of a longer wait time for bill payments, but because I'm so used to it, that seems to be sufficient for me. Another thing here is if you wanted to make a transfer, you could transfer assets or funds, obviously in between accounts, which is really nice and actually a good feature because some people feel like maybe if they're, they have one account with Questrade and another account that they have to liquidate and then transfer things over. And a lot of times what that can do is that can actually trigger different taxable events, especially if you're considering transferring from another account that's outside of Questrade into Questrade. So you can actually keep your investments, whatever, you have, again, dependent upon, what Questrade has and what account you have outside if they both have the same product. But essentially you could just go here and make that transfer right there. So that's something to look at under moving money. There's a thing called exchange here. This is where you can exchange your Canadian to USD. And make those amounts exchange over. Now, you can just essentially buy, for example, if you have Canadian dollars and you buy a US listed security, it'll automatically do that exchange rate for you. But if you felt like you wanted to do the cash itself, you could do that here. There are better ways of doing that called Norbert's Gambit. I'll leave a link down below for that. And there's another method that you have to do for that, which we'll touch on a little bit later. And then another area to note is under documents. I'm not going to click there, so I'm not going to see see my accounts and my holdings and such. But under documents, if you click that, you can actually find all your tax related documentation. Very handy, as well as other types of summary reports and stuff like that. But your tax documentation there. Next, we have reoccurring investments. And the way this works is you can see on my screen here that basically all registered and non-registered accounts are eligible for this. And eligible securities are all fractional eligible US stocks and ETFs available on Questrade. They are going to be putting Canadian fractional shares coming out soon, and so hopefully this will also be included with that as well for different types of stocks like the TSX. Now, if you just kind of look at this screen here, this is why I don't want to go into my account because I'm not wanting to show you all the holdings that I have and the amount of money and all that kind of stuff. But over here, you can actually see that you just simply are clicking on that schedule icon and you're able to basically buy that investment on a set schedule, which is fantastic. And so there is that option there. I will leave the link down to this article within the description down below for your reference. So when you go to management over here, we'll avoid reports for now. I'm just wanting to look at some areas that you can quickly change some things around in your account when you first set this up and just give you really basic navigation. But when you're in here, one of the things that you can do is you can do this dividend reinvestment, which is really nice and handy. So under dividend reinvestment, I'm not going to click into it, but you can basically take your investments and you can have the dividends get reinvested, and you can actually decide to do that per account, as well as the different individual shares in your account. So let's say there's something that's generating you a lot of dividend and you're not wanting to buy more of that stock. You simply just want to collect those dividends, and then you want to put that money and allocate it into other types of investments that you'd like to invest into as well. Well, you can do that. You have that really high flexibility within that dividend reinvestment, which is really nice. And at any point during this video, you can use my affiliate link below to lock in a sign-up bonus and help support this channel. I never receive a sponsor to promote a financial product to keep these videos neutral and unbiased. So for more financial account and tool reviews like this, like and subscribe, please. It helps to promote the channel and get things moving a little faster here. Another thing as well too is, as we're scrolling down, we can see here, if you are getting into options, you do have to actually activate a higher level of different types of strategies that you can use. There's 4 different levels that you can activate. And so for each of those levels, it basically unlocks different types of strategies, because there's obviously higher risk as you continue to go up in those levels. So that's where that is. And you simply are just signing some documentation to be able to authorize that as well. So there's a couple really small steps that need to be done in order to get that activated. Another cool thing is under margin power. This is where, if you go into that, if you have a margin account and you have a tax-free savings account, you can actually use the margin power in your tax-free savings account in your margin account. So for me, the way I look at this, being more of a passive investor, is if I'm using a little bit of margin in my margin account, which is very, 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 very minimal, I still like the flexibility of knowing that I have my tax-free savings account, being able to provide that additional layer of cushion so that I'm not going to get that margin call if for whatever reason it tends to hit that marker in some kind of catastrophic type of an event. So that is something that I found to be beneficial, and I think it's worth setting up if you're, considering using margin as well. Another couple of things I would probably do as soon as I get started is I would go into this manage participants, and in there, you could have a will set up, which I have a will set up as well too. I'll leave a link down below on a place where you can really get a good will set up really quickly if you haven't set one up already. But anyways, under here, what I would do is I would actually set up all of the beneficiaries the exact same way that I had it set up in my will, because what it does is it allows for the accounts to kind of move around a little bit quicker in the, the unforeseen circumstance of, myself or, whoever setting that up passing away. And then another cool thing too is, and something to look into, is look at the difference between a successor holder as well as a beneficiary for your tax-free savings account. Again, this isn't tax advice, financial advice, but do your own due diligence on this. But from my understanding is there's a lot of advantages to having a successor holder set up within your tax-free savings account. So definitely look into that, and that is where you would activate that within your tax-free savings account. Another cool thing under the manage participants is if you have a partner, like you're married or you're the one that is in charge of like an RESP or that kind of thing, you're actually able to manage all of those accounts together. So even though, the other person, so like in regards to myself and my wife, even though my wife has accounts set up in her name, she's able to actually fill out some paperwork and allow me to be the authorized trader on the account. Now, there are limitations with that. So if you want to dig into that, go ahead and do that. But the cool thing is, I'm able to make those trades within the account and be able to manage all of the various assets that we hold together in one place within my own account itself, which is fantastic. Another interesting thing is the security lending program. So in here, you can actually like opt out of it if you do not want it. But the security lending program, essentially what you're doing is you're getting, the Questrade will split 50-50 in regards to the interest that it collects. So if they're going to take shares that you have, say you have something like VOO, and somebody out there wants to borrow those shares, Questrade is going to charge them interest to borrow those shares. And then that interest, you're going to be able to make a kick on that, as well as Questrade. You're splitting that 50-50. It doesn't mean that all of your shares are going to actually have the security lending program activated and they're going to be used. What I found is, for depending on different investments, some investments people like to borrow a little bit more than others. And so you'll find that, you'll gain more interest on, different types of tickers that actually are being borrowed more frequently than others. But the cool thing is that you're getting money put into your account. And so for me, I really like that. Obviously, there's a bit more information you can learn about that as you're kind of going through the various prompts. This journal shares under management. So if you're taking a large lump sum, say anywhere between $1,000 and over, it can be beneficial to save money, because with using something called Norbert's Gambit, again, link down below, you can actually journal those shares. It costs $9.95 plus tax in order to journal the shares over. And it doesn't matter whether you're moving $1 million or whether you're moving, $1,000. It is the exact same cost. And so if you have large chunks of money, what I find is this journaling shares option to be very, 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 very beneficial. So that is awesome. So for fractional shares, you simply are placing a market order. It has to be a market order, not a limit order. But basically, you put on the market order, you put 11.23 or whatever the portion of shares are that you're wanting to put on, and you simply buy or sell those shares. And that is how you actually use the fractional shares. Again, the stock that you're trading with has to support it. So there's nothing in the settings that you actually have to turn on or off. For those of you that are just kind of wondering specifically about fractional shares. Under custom indexing, this is a really cool thing. You actually have to set up your own account under here. So if you have a tax-free savings account, you actually need to open up a custom indexing tax-free savings account, because what you're doing is you're creating sort of like a shell, so to speak, that is a customized index with all various types of stocks. Now, what Questrade currently has for their fractional shares, these are the different types of items that they have listed right now in this custom index. So they don't have a lot of Canadian. They don't actually have any Canadian at the time of recording this, but their plans are to have Canadian, the Canadian stocks in there. So, which is fantastic. But for USD listed things like the S&P 500, you can play around with the different types of holdings that are there, which is really cool. So I'm not going to go through a ton of the different things here, but they do have a lot of information here where you can find out exactly what it is on how that custom indexing works, the individual stocks. Again, there's no fee for it. So if it is something that you're wanting to do, you're gonna have to open up that account in order to do it. And you can hold, basically a customized index, and all you have to do is just click once, and then it just rebalances everything for you, which is awesome. There's a lot of common questions you can have answered down here at the bottom if you feel like you're running into any issues figuring that out. But that is something that you would have to get set up as well right at the beginning. This is the Questrade Learning Center. I'll leave a link for this down there as well too. You can find a lot of information about things that you're looking. As well, if you do like a Google search or something like that, you'll usually find one of the articles that are related here. So Questrade really has put a lot of time and effort into making sure that they have a very, very comprehensive list of things here. So that wraps up this video. For a review on other financial tools and products I use to help me invest, click right over here. For a full video review on Questrade, click over here.